I'm Simone Harms from Upper Midwest Law Center, and today we are joined with attorney Chris Madel. Chris, if you could just give a brief intro on who you are and what you have been up to recently.
Sure. My name's Chris Madel. Was born and raised in Minnesota. Grew up in a small town called Waseca. Went to McAllister College undergrad, Michigan Law School, and became an attorney in 1992. Worked for the Justice Department for about a year, and I've been practicing in Minneapolis pretty much nonstop, except for that brief time in the Justice Department in D.C.
The subject for today's podcast, Chris, is Mary Moriarty, who is the county attorney for Hennepin County. And as you know, there has been a lot of controversy surrounding her and her policies. So if you could just give the audience a brief intro on who she is, if they don't know, and what she's been up to, why she's so controversial.
Sure. Mary Moriarty is the Hennepin County attorney, which means that she is the chief state prosecutor in Hennepin County. She makes the final decision on what cases get prosecuted in Hennepin County at the state level, and then she also can determine what on the prosecution side, the state side, what the maximum sentence that the state will be seeking. Judges don't necessarily need to follow that, but it's pretty obvious that in most cases the judges will follow what the state is doing, and she also gets to decide on what sort of charges somebody is going to be charged with. So you might have committed 10 crimes and she could ultimately agree to a plea bargain of the one crime, and perhaps the most serious one or the most lenient one. I think you know my view on what she normally does.
Chris, from a constitutional law perspective, do you believe Mary Moriarty's race-based sentencing violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment?
100% yes. I mean, it's not close. When I worked at the Justice Department in the main justice building, there is, under the main entrance there, it says equal justice under the law. And it's really not that complicated. We are not supposed to be taking anybody's race into account when charging somebody, when sentencing somebody, or making any state or government decisions with respect to anybody. And when she's weighing in on that with respect to whatever minority group that she wants to talk about in that particular moment, I believe that she's violating our Constitution, not only the federal Constitution, but also our Minnesota State Constitution.
How do her policies align or conflict with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which explicitly prohibits discrimination based on race?
I think that this is exactly why the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department is extremely interested in what Ms. Moriarty has decided to do. And I think that this is exactly what we're not supposed to be about. Our country is not supposed to be looking into somebody's race and making any material decisions. And that doesn't just apply to prosecutorial decisions. That also applies to housing. That applies to employment in a lot of other areas. This is taking us back. And I know that she and her cronies kind of keep thinking that, oh, this is going to advance something. It is a strategy that she employs over and over again to divide. This is not to do what is right. This is to divide. It's to get more votes. It's to get more money. It's to get people on, that inflamed with respect to everything that she wants to accomplish in Hennepin County, which I've said repeatedly, I think is just extremely dangerous.
Chris, what legal pathways do you see for challenging Moriarty's policies in court?
Well, it's interesting because, she's more or less created a new argument for numerous people to come into court and saying that you're treating me differently. And once there gets to be enough data with respect to that, those are sort of empirical decisions that a lot of economists, and you can run regression analyses on these things in order to show that a group is being treated differently than another group. I just know from my perspective that when I represented Trooper Ryan Londrigan, the amount that she injected race into that particular matter right from the very, very beginning, it became very clear to me that she was very interested in going and prosecuting a cop, especially a white cop, with what she considered to be an African American victim. And that, she said it over and over again, not only at the very beginning of the case, but even when she was dismissing the case. And now she's recently done it again when she went on her little tirade here about her views of of the anniversary of George Floyd.
Yes. And another recent case is the Tesla vandalism incident. Could you talk a little bit about that one too?
Yeah, well, the irony is just thick on that. So my understanding of this is that you have a young white male, and I'm 58 years old, so he's young by me, and who goes and keys a number of Teslas, 6 of them, causes tens of thousands of dollars of damage to these vehicles. He isn't even charged. His attorney, and my hat's off to his attorney, contacts the office, gets him pretrial diversion before he's even charged with a felony with respect to criminal damage to property. But at the same time, it's my understanding that there was a young African American woman that keyed a car down at White Castle. She was charged with a felony. And so here you have but the difference here is, though, is that this young white male happened to work for the Walz administration, and he happened to be attacking cars, which nowadays Elon Musk is, absolutely hated by the left. I just remember 2 years ago, people loved Elon Musk. I mean, this was the EV guy, and he's going to take us into the next century. I mean, I can only imagine how he's feeling with respect to, boy, I was your friend here 2 minutes ago, and now I'm being vilified and getting death threats. But the irony that she is giving better treatment here to a young white male that happens to work for the Walz administration and then charging a young black female is just thick. And honestly, I don't understand not only how Mary Moriarty sleeps at night, but I don't understand how these prosecutors can look themselves in the face and say that they're doing the right thing. I mean, when Trump was early on in his administration, you heard of a number of prosecutors from the Southern District of New York quitting because they felt like what he was doing was wrong. I happen to disagree with a lot of the things that they did, but at least they had some sort of principle. Here in Hennepin County, absent.
In your experience, how does racial favoritism affect public trust in the legal system?
This is exactly one of the problems with the civil rights movement. When people feel that they're being treated unfairly, that sort of anger and that sort of angst builds over time. And I've had a number of friends over my life that African American friends that sometimes they would refer to things as DWB, driving while black. And that occurs, of course that's wrong. You shouldn't just be pulled over because of how you look. You shouldn't be pulled over because you should be being pulled over because you're violating the law or doing something overtly suspicious under Supreme Court case law. It's called Terry versus Ohio. When you continually inject race into these sorts of things, what you are doing is you are dividing people and you're giving more distrust in the system itself. We should be judged on what we've done and what we say, not how we look. And that is exactly what she's trying to do. And again, and perhaps it's my cynicism, I really sincerely don't believe that she really believes any of this stuff. I think it's just more or less she knows that there's an election coming up and she needs to go as far left as possible to grab that crowd, to grab those votes in order to try to get reelected. Because frankly, I don't know of a law firm in the state that would hire her. So where else is she going to get a job?
How do her intended policies disregard the foundation of our country, which is the written law of the Constitution?
It's exactly what she's done over and over again. I think that when you are, particularly I would say with Ryan Londrigan's case, he acted as a hero and she couldn't wait to charge him, even despite a use of force expert saying the opposite. And when we finally put all the evidence in front of her, she has to go to Washington, D.C. to find some prosecutors that will do it, wastes $500,000 of our money, and then comes back and dismisses the case. And then we suddenly go around asking, geez, what's happening here? And what does the Hennepin County Commissioner Board do? They give her a raise. She gets a raise when all that is done. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You just can't. And, as a resident of Hennepin County, it just incenses me because, we all pay inordinately high property taxes, and this is where this money is going. And nobody really, particularly in a number of our Hennepin County leaders, nobody's really minding the store with respect to any of this.
Thank you so much, Chris, for all of your answers. If there's anything else you'd want to add here at the end, what else do you have to add?
No, well, you know, I've represented Alpha News, and I think the world of them. I am so proud to have represented them, and I really admire everything that you all are doing in order to actually get the facts out there, because I think that that's extremely important nowadays, that people actually have access to the truth and that they can actually hear directly from the people that have been being involved in things. So I really commend you and what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Chris. This is Symone Harms with Upper Midwest Law Center.